Hey, welcome. Today, we're going to dive into the incredible work of Dr. Julie Smith. She's a clinical psychologist who had this amazing idea: what if the best tools for our mental health weren't locked away in a therapist's office?
I mean, it's a fair question, right? When you think of TikTok, you're probably thinking about dance challenges, not deep psychological insights. But Dr. Smith's journey from her quiet, private practice to becoming a social media sensation, well, it tells you a lot about what people are really searching for right now.
And this, right here, is the core of her entire philosophy. Dr. Smith just realized that all these techniques she was teaching people one-on-one, to handle anxiety, to navigate tough relationships, to deal with low moods, they were universal. These are practical, everyday tools that she uses herself to get through life.
So she basically went on a mission to get this knowledge out to everybody. And in this explainer, that's what we're going to do. We're going to open up that toolkit and give you the key insights she shares for understanding and managing, really, the most complex and amazing thing you'll ever own: your mind.
Okay, so first up, let's really dig into this idea of why these aren't just therapy skills, but essential life skills for every single one of us. For her, it all came down to a really powerful sense of what's fair.
She would have these moments in her practice where a patient would have a huge breakthrough, and she'd just be sitting there thinking, why do people have to pay so much money just to find this out? This incredible knowledge about how our own minds work, how we can do better in our relationships, how to handle anxiety. She just felt like it belonged to everyone. And it turns out people were absolutely starving for it. She kind of reluctantly started making these short videos, and the response was just huge. Today, she's got over 3.5 million followers, which just proves there is this massive appetite out there for good, science-backed tools for mental health.
So if we're going to use the toolkit, we first have to understand the operating system it's running on, right? So let's start decoding our own inner world.
First up is something called the mental filter. Our brains are basically hardwired for survival. They're always scanning for danger. Now, in the modern world, that looks like getting 100 positive comments online and fixating on the one that's even slightly negative. The key thing to remember is this isn't a flaw in you, it's just a feature of your brain. And just knowing that, that's the first step to managing. Now, this next idea, this is a total game changer. We tend to think that the thoughts that just pop into our heads are us. But Dr. Smith explains that your thoughts are just automatic suggestions from your brain. They're not commands. You aren't the thought. You are the one who notices the thought. And here's the crucial part. You're the one who gets to choose how to respond. That little bit of space between the thought and your reaction, that's freedom. And running underneath all of this, kind of like software in the background, are our core beliefs. These are the really deep down assumptions we have. Things like, I'm not good enough, or I'll always be rejected. They usually get formed when we're kids, and they act like this invisible script shaping how we see everything that happens to us. So let's connect the dots here, because those core beliefs and automatic thoughts, they don't just stay in our heads. They play out in our relationships. So let's look at how we can actually start to break those negative cycles. Think about it. When we're kids, we learn how to cope with our family situations. It makes perfect sense at the time. The thing is, we carry those exact same strategies, which are now totally outdated, into our adult lives. And they become these knee-jerk habits that can create the same arguments, the same problems over and over again. So how do you actually get out of this loop? Well, it's not like flipping a switch. It's a process, and this lays it out perfectly. First, you just start noticing the pattern after it's already happened, maybe the next day. Then you start to catch yourself right in the middle of it. That moment of awareness, that is the choice point. That's when you finally realize, hey, I can do something different right now. And that's how you break the cycle.
Okay, so once we get a handle on our past patterns, how do we start building a future we actually want? This is where Dr. Smith introduces the powerful idea of having a clear internal compass, your values.
And she makes such a crucial distinction here between goals and values. A goal is a destination. You can reach it. You pass the exam. You buy the house. Check, it's done. But a value, that's a direction. It's a path you walk your whole life. Like, you never finish being a loving partner or complete being a curious person. It's about how you choose to be in this moment and the next and the next. And to make this super practical, she offers this simple values check-in. You just pick an area of your life, say your career. Then you ask, how do I want to be here? Maybe it's enthusiastic. Then you rate, how important is that to you? 1 to 10. And then, how much are you actually living that value right now? 1 to 10. And that little gap between the two numbers, that's not a reason to beat yourself up. No way. It's just a little arrow pointing you toward the one small thing you can do to close it. And that's the key, right? It's such a relief to hear this. We think change has to be this huge, dramatic moment. But Dr. Smith reminds us that real, lasting change, that's built from tiny, consistent steps, day after day, in the direction that actually matters to you.
All right, for our final section, let's stock our toolkit with some quick, practical tools you can use for immediate relief, for those moments of high stress or anxiety when you just need something that works right now.
Tool number 1 is something you have with you all the time, and it's probably the most powerful one there is, your breath. When you get anxious, your breathing gets fast and shallow. The absolute quickest way to tell your brain, hey, we're safe, is to intentionally slow down your breath. It directly pumps the brakes on your body's entire stress response.
And a really easy way to do this is a technique called box breathing. It's so simple. You just breathe in for a count of 4, hold your breath for 4, breathe out for 4, and hold again for 4. It gives your mind something simple to focus on, and you can do it anywhere, in a meeting, on the train, and nobody will even know you're doing it. It's an instant pattern interrupt for anxiety.
Okay, tool number 2 kind of flips what most of us believe about confidence on its head. We usually think we need to feel confident before we can do the scary thing. Dr. Smith says it's the exact opposite. Confidence isn't something you think your way into, it's something you build through action.
This quote just nails it. If you only do things you already feel confident about, your confidence can never get any bigger. Real growth happens when you're willing to step into that discomfort, to be a little vulnerable, and take a small, manageable risk. That's how you build real self-esteem, based on actual evidence of what you can do.
So when you put it all together, the big takeaway from Dr. Julie Smith's work is really a message of empowerment. These aren't some mysterious secrets for a chosen few. They are practical, learnable skills that give every single one of us the power to understand our own minds and to actively build a life with better mental well-being.
And really, that just leaves us with one final question. Dr. Smith has opened up the toolkit for all of us. She's shown us how to understand our minds, how to break old patterns, and how to live by our values. The only question left is the one that only you can answer. Now that you have the tools, how do you want to live?